audible, right?
Yep.
So am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, so hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Dilip Paisar. So he'll be talking about the fundamentals of Azure with fundamentals of DevOps with Azure. So on the behalf of Azure developer community, I'll welcome you all to this session, and we are going to explain about the DevOps from the start. So let me introduce a bit about the Mr. Dilip Paisar. So he's a cloud enthusiast and .NET developer, and he's a corporate trainer, and he trains experts as well. So he's a 4x Microsoft certified Azure developer as well, and you can just authenticate how good he is in Azure developer DevOps. So and worked as a software engineer in Tech Mahindra and with SWA, and currently working as a software engineer in NEC Software Solutions Bangalore. So he's a multi-phase personality having expertise in the Microsoft Azure field as well. So over to you, sir.
Uh, Thanks, Akhil. Thanks for the wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll be just sharing my screen. So let's get started. Yep. So is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay. Hi guys. Good evening and welcome to the session. So today, as mentioned, we'll be just speaking on the DevOps fundamentals. So what is DevOps? So it's a buzzing word right now. So currently, I hope that most of our audience are into the college final year or just college pass out students who just want to be a DevOps engineer. So especially for them and some of the conception of DevOps, and to get started with DevOps, why Azure and why Azure DevOps especially is recommended. So we'll be covering that. Yep. Okay. So this would be the agenda, and so we'll be just getting a idea of agile before DevOps, right? So there are some prerequisites why DevOps came into picture and what led to the evolution of DevOps. So to know that, we need to know the idea of agile. Okay, and once we are thorough to it, we will just see the VSTS tool introduction. So just don't get worried that what VSTS, we are here for a Azure session. So VSTS is basically known as now known as Azure DevOps. So it was previously got fame with the name of VSTS. Okay, and after that, so let's just get some of the hands-on. So just we don't have much of the time, and this is just a basic class, so we'll be just creating our initial build and release pipeline. So don't get confused if you're very new to build, what's build and what's release. So we'll be just covering those concepts too in our further slides. Okay, so Akhil already covered about me, and so this slide is no more relevant now. We'll just skip to the next one. um, yep. So what's the takeaway from this? Okay, so one is, I can't guarantee that you will be thorough with the technology, okay, but I can just make sure that, okay, when anyone asks you about the DevOps, right, you will be able to tell him conceptually at least what is DevOps, and you can explain anyone probably the idea of DevOps. Okay, so and also we'll just go through the Azure DevOps tool introduction too, and some hands-on. Okay, so this would be the takeaway. Okay, guys, so let's get started. Okay, so let's go to the sometime back. Okay, when not Stone Age, probably 10-12 years back. Okay, so how the software used to be developed. Okay, so I think most of our students over here, or most of the audience here, are college pass out, and they have some subject called software engineering. At least I had during my engineering days. So in the software engineering, right, major marks should be coming from this. So waterfall life, what software development life cycle or waterfall model. So this model was majorly followed some time back. Probably some of the companies do might follow it, might be not. Okay, so previously some time back, yes, this was the go to approach. Okay, so when they tell, right, traditional approach, so that you should just go ahead with the waterfall life cycle. Okay, waterfall model. Now they had some phases over here. Okay, so requirements, design, implementation, verification, and maintenance. Okay, so these were the phases of the life cycle, or phases of the model. Now let's come to deep, like, let's go with the use case of why this was used and why this will fail. Okay, that's what the led to the evolution. Okay, so probably we know, like, some six, probably last year, you can tell India was in a very tough phase. Okay, and India was into a pandemic, right? So in that time, what happened, so India had to speed up its vaccination, so that was the only way to go, correct? So vaccination process speed up, so achieve at least 70 to 80% of the adult population should be vaccinated, at least a single dose. So that was the go to target. So vaccinations were developed by the scientists, no doubt in that. But to facilitate the accessibility to the people, right, there had to be use of technology here, correct? So that's when indigenous software or indigenous website, that is Cowin, was developed. Okay, so we all know, so we will be just sticking to this one here, right? So this is the Cowin website. Okay, consider, now we as a system are developing a Cowin website. Okay, so we will be just sticking to, we are all the backend developers, so at least I'm a backend developer over here. So my team was given a task to develop a open APIs. So when we tell about the new terminologies, right, so basically how our software is divided: a front end application, a back end application, correct? And we link it. Okay, when microservices and all come into picture. Now our team is being given a task to create a backend application. So this is basically APIs. So APIs are nothing but a way for a front end application to interact with the backend application. Okay, so it's kind of an interface. Now a team is being given to develop these APIs. Time shortage is there, we know that, how critical the application is. Now let's try to analyze the same thing, what it would be if it would have been developed with the backend approach. Okay, sorry, the waterfall approach. Okay, that is the traditional approach. Okay, now so just bear with my drawing, I'm very bad at drawing. Okay, so we'll be just looking at how things would be if we the Cowin was developed with the backend approach now. Okay, so now major one for any product or company is a customer. Okay, so let's make him happy now. Okay, so now customer gives a requirement, so that is the government. So government gives a requirement. To whom it will give? So it will give a requirement to the product owner. So every company has someone, or every team of a project has someone called product owner. So his job is basically to get a requirements from customers. Okay, now um customers get, sorry, the product owner gets the requirement. So customer will tell, in this case it's a government, so government will tell, okay, I have given my contract to your XYZ company. Okay, and I need the Cowin software, Cowin backend at least, to be developed by 4 months max to max. Okay, 4 months max to max. Now what happens? So firstly, so this product owner, he gathers the requirement, lots of mail shoots up. So it's a looping mail. Okay, so he gets a requirement, this guy goes for clarification, again this guy clarifies it, again this guy. So it's a loop. If you see here, one loop is formed. Whole requirement process takes probably about 2 to 3 weeks, or let's say they want to speed up and they give faster requirements, might be just 2 weeks at any cost. Okay, because any software life cycle, the major thing is a requirement, right? Because I have told for a aeroplane and you deliver me helicopter, that's not working. So that's not how it is, right? So now the requirement has been gathered. Okay, next what? So 2 to 3 weeks are done here. Now this guy, the product owner, goes to the chief architect of a, of a team, of a development team. Okay, so chief architect then consult with his architects. Okay, team of architects. Okay, these are probably the leads also. Okay, now what he will do? So this guy will tell the requirement, and these guys have to tell him how they are going to approach the solution. So basically the requirement phase is done. This comes our design phase. Okay, so design phase. Now in design phase also, it's not that the team understands the requirement at one shot. No, that's never going to happen. Again, it's a loop process, correct? So might be at a faster pace, they work overtime and so on. At the same 2 to 3 weeks, let's take at the earliest. Okay, so once the design is ready, so the team of architects, they plan, okay, what is our approach, how are we going to create the infrastructure, and so on. Great, we are good now, we are good. Okay, vaccination is possible to all people. Okay, next. So this requirement phase is sent, sorry, the this design is sent to the team. So now the team has to uh, deliver it, right? So the dev team is basically consisting of the developers, or we can consider the testers also here, but they are not completely part of dev team, but yes, we can consider them over here. Okay, so now dev team is there, testing team is there. Okay, so the requirement and the implementation has to be explained to the both dev team and the testing team, correct? So dev team starts to implement it. Okay, now this implementation is never going to be easy. There might be technical challenges, there might be some impediments, there might be xyz challenges. Okay, so it's consider, let it take 6 weeks. Okay, now after development, there are two approaches. Now considering we will be developing an application, so basically application generates some sort of exes, correct? Because when we convert from a high level language to a low level language, probably any language, it creates some exes. So if you are using a visual .NET, it will create you dll. If you are using java, it will create a jar. So basically it's a executables which are required to talk with the system. Now you need to deploy this, correct? So one thing how testers will try, these will share the exes to using a zip folder or any other method to the tester, and these can download it and use them. So one way, here fight starts. Okay, what fight is it? It's working in my system, it's not working in your system. Okay, that's a common fight between testers and developer. Okay, so the fight starts now. Okay, so fight takes product owner also comes in. Okay, he will be more particular about the UI, about the design, everything. Okay, fine. 6 weeks plus 1 week, let's target. Okay, after this, now you need to deploy the code. Okay, so you have developed things into the local system, correct? You have to put it into a website, correct? So now there is a you have taken a domain, you are probably created a website, web app in Azure. You need to put these things into the Azure now. Okay, so what, so previous times, so let's say, let's not go into Azure now. So let's consider there was a VM. This was a public IP with public domain, and all the DLLs, verified DLLs, were put into here. Okay, so now this process, what used to do is, once verified, these zip files again were shared with one guy. So this guy was known as the build administrator. Okay, so this guy's job, what is, so it can be a developer also at times if he has access. So this guy has access to all the environments kind of. So this is kind of the operations guy. Okay, so now operations guy comes in. So this guy used to share the zip files, and this guy used to manually upload into. So we consider we have three kind of VMs. Okay, one is for QA, and is one is for production. So this guy is put into QA. So directly can't put into production. This guy is put into QA. Something code broke. Okay, so QA is full is down. Again, it goes back over here. Okay, so again the fight starts. Okay, again see how many loops are there. One loop, two loop, three loop, four loop. Okay, so again plus 1 week to solve what is the problem, what is the bug, and so on. Once it deployed to product QA, now what happens, this guy testers come in. So actual testers, functional testers come in, see the look and feel, see the functionality, do the API testing. They give a sign up, else they sign off, or else they create a bug. Once this bug is created, again it goes back to the dev team, again comes back to the same process. Fifth loop. Okay, so uh, plus 1 or 2 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks again. Okay, once everything is done, this guy again comes into picture, takes this DLLs and uploads it into the production environment. Now, finally, production is ready. Now, production also needs to be tested. Some bugs might be there. After all this, verification will come into picture. Okay, great. So things are good now. Okay, so it's in a good part again. So how much time it take? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 15 to 16 weeks, right? It went up to 6 months, consider. In the meantime, one more feature comes into picture, for one more requirements into comes into picture. It can't be accommodated somewhere into middle, right? It has to go through the same process. How much time it will take? Probably 1 month or 2 months. Now what happens if you see, right, in a, suppose consider a single page application. So probably if any of our college friends are there over here, they will come and tell, okay, they might have heard their colleagues or their seniors or someone telling, okay, I have my deployment today, I have my release today, and so on. So what is this? So what used to happen is basically you have a single page application. Okay, so currently it's a very small application. So what used to do, so there used to be no collaboration. So developers, testers, and the operations guy. So release cycle, so operation guy, don't think that operation guy is jobless. Okay, so he is not jobless, he has his own set of work apart from deploying. He also has things to things like suppose scale the application. So whenever the load is up, scale the application, monitor the stuff. So he has his own jobs. So he will do, okay, monthly third I'll deploy all the releases to production or QA. Okay, consider first I'll deploy, or third I'll deploy to QA, and sixth I'll deploy to production. Okay, so 3 days gap. Now developer will finish within 1 week or 2 weeks, and he has to wait of third of the month, right? Testing, he'll share it, no dependency, but again he I also has to wait. In the meanwhile, the product owner or the customer comes and tell, where is my code? It's already 3 months. Not happy, he's not happy. So he'll put so developer is tell, my code is ready. Operation guy is not able to put it into production. So operation guy is tell, there are already something in queue, I can't put this into queue. Okay, again the whole, it's all more about less collaboration and more fight. It's not fight exactly, it's more like um argument. Okay, so in this time what happens, so there is fight, 3 to 6 months have gone, some other guy comes into market. Okay, comes into market, directly deploys the Covin app, government buys it from him for XYZ crores. What's the loss of the company? Not only time, money, right? So this is the disadvantage. Okay, so this is the disadvantage of traditional approach. So this is the problem we saw. Okay, what we got the problem, right? What's the solution? Okay, so what's the solution is basically, okay, excuse me. Okay, so now we got the problem statement. We have to be quick, we have to adapt quick to the changes also, but what's the solution? That's when agile comes into picture. Okay, so agile, again, it's not a software, it's not a technology. Okay, it's not any new tool or anything, it's just a mindset. Okay, it's just a process, it's not a technology or a tool or a software. It's just a mindset. How a team can deliver quickly as soon as possible with the more collaboration. So if you see here, they form a loop and they tell, okay, we will take less work, but we will do it in 2 months, 2 weeks. Sorry. So this 2 weeks of time is known as sprint. Okay. Now this agile has its own set of ceremonies like a retrospective or a demo, what is being achieved in 2 weeks. Okay, and then what do you plan to achieve this in 2 weeks, and so on. Okay, so what do you do? So they go and tell at the start of 2 weeks. So there is something called planning, that is on a sprint. So sprint is kind of a race, so you don't stop in between 2 weeks. Okay, so that is sprint. So in the sprint you tell, okay, I will set a goal to create an infrastructure. Once design and all is ready, I'll create some basic design from the customer and try to create an infrastructure and develop a basic API. So let's again go to our Setu here. Okay, so consider, we, if you all have observed, right, when we go to Arogya Setu, first we develop something, first we enter the OTP. So first thing what a requirement came is, okay, generate OTP, and that OTP should be valid for 1 minute or 2 minutes. Okay, so that was a requirement. Okay, requirement is gathered, team starts to develop. How architect design team start to design, and development start to design and deploy it. Okay, now the you guys might question, the process remains the same, right? What here, the development will be here, ops will be here, and testing will be here. You have to deploy, it's going through the automated process. No, it's going to manual process. How come agile will help here? To solve that problem, right, DevOps comes into picture. Okay, so DevOps is basically all the three teams work together in the collaborations. Collaboration is not in the sense they work in the same office, okay? So they can work anywhere. So they work as a single team. It doesn't mean that DevOps, as a development guy, he's not aware of DevOps, or a testing guy, I'm not. No, it's not that. DevOps is a one thing which everyone needs to know together. They have to follow together and they have to achieve it together. Okay, so here the infrastructure guy, the development guy, and the QA guy for testing comes together, and they work towards this thing called DevOps. Okay, so it's more of a collaboration. So they see this Venn diagram, whole things come here. This particular part where all are a common thing is known as DevOps. Okay, so what is DevOps? Again, it follows similar thing to the DevOps agile methodology. Okay, so here it's neither a tool, neither a software, neither some technology. Okay, then what is it? So it's a mindset. Okay, so DevOps is a mindset where you guys work together into the collaboration. So I tell that I don't. So what I'll do, so consider, let's just move ahead from our um Covin app to Netflix. So you don't consider the same thing to Netflix, or so Netflix got really famous because they were the pioneers when when they implemented DevOps and microservices. Okay, they had some really good case studies, monkey case studies, what they call, and they were one of the pioneers when they started to use this DevOps. Okay, so now um, consider Netflix. So before, they probably shifted to DevOps in 2014. Okay, um, so previous to that, some people were using it in the US. Okay, I'm not sure about the exact date, but their one they, according to their estimation, if DevOps was not there, a 1 hour of downtime would cost them a loss of $1 billion. Can you imagine that? How much loss it is to a company? Yep. So they come that, okay, I will not go with the traditional approach. I want a smaller teams. I don't want like operation team sitting there sharing the DLLs, and the dev team here sharing the DLLs, testing here using the DLLs. No, I don't want that. I need a smaller team, but a collaborative team. So what they did, they created a small teams here. So probably one will, they implemented the microservice architecture. So what they did, we will go ahead with the microservice architecture. We'll create a small team. So consider um, one team will be the video team. So they are just uploading the contents and they're more toward the streaming, and one team will be probably um, l- um, increasing the scalability and so on. So here multiple teams are there. So what thing they did is, okay, one team, smaller team, it consists of developer, architect, tester, and one DevOps guy. So here, right, don't get fancied with the term DevOps engineer, right? Everyone is in us, that small team, collaboration team should be known for DevOps. So again, as I told, it's a mindset. So every member in that team should know what is DevOps. Okay, it's not, so infrastructure guy will be there, but that guy is not known as a DevOps guy, for your kind information. So if anyone is in the assumption that, okay, if I'm going towards the infrastructure, if I'm setting up the infra, then I'm the DevOps engineer. No. So DevOps engineer is someone who knows all these qualities. He knows he should be know and have some knowledge on scripting. It doesn't again mean that, okay. So if I consider Jenkins is one of the famous DevOps tools. So if I know something on Jenkins, I'm a DevOps engineer today. No, he is just good for knowing the infrastructure. So DevOps engineering is not only about knowing a tool; it's about knowing the process. Okay, so Dev process, what it did, so they told, okay, let's collaborate it thing. Let's take the plan, let's code it, build it, test it, release it, deploy it, operate it, monitor it. Again, a continuation. In this 2 weeks, I'm doing this task. So if you see here, right, DevOps, it's a infinity. It means that I will not be a burden on developers, neither I will not be a burden on testers, neither I will not be a burden on IT operations guy or infrastructure guy. But it doesn't mean that it should not be like they are free or something like that. They should do their work, but it should not be a burden. It should be a seamless process. So here DevOps team and operations work together, okay, and continuously. So if you see this infinity means they work continuously towards some common goal and a better speed. So this infinity is known as DevOps. So here DevOps and Ops. So testers, if any testers around, please don't get sad that, okay, why testing is not involved here. Okay, so when I mean developers, right, dev team, so dev team consists of testers. Okay, so please don't get disheartened if I didn't mention testing team somewhere here. Okay, um so what is this DevOps now? How this is done? Okay, so DevOps plan. Okay, first you plan it, then you code according to the plan. So once code is built, so when I mean build, it means that okay, from the high level language to the system level language, you need to compile the things. Once this is done, you need to test. Probably it's done by testers, probably it's done by some of the automated test cases which developer writes these days. So testing, what is this release and deploy? So release is basically you push the code into the repository. So we have the main repository, right? So main master repository, so we push the code into the master repository, so where all the code base is relied. So if you see, go back to our traditional approach, code used to be really mess. So one used to guy work on same thing, and other guy also push the things into the same thing. It used to be complete mess out of it, too much conflicts and so on. So then repository concepts come into picture. So Git, we all know how it is. We can create a branches, work on the branches, push into our branches, then merge this branch into main. So that's that process, pushing, doing the changes into your branches. So those of you don't know what is branches and so on, so just a quick revisit. Okay, so let's take, so this is the master branch. So master branch is something, master repository where the main code source right. Okay, so previously what used to happen, everyone used to directly commit over, consider a branch, a future branch or anything, everyone directly commit over hit, or it used to be really mess. So what they did, let's create a branching strategy. So master branch, the main repo. Let's take a reference of Git. Okay, so consider someone want to work on a feature. So feature is something, when I just go through Azure boards, I'll just show you how to, what is feature also there. So consider it's one of the workable, minimal viable product that should be done. So this particular user authentication APIs is there, right? So here generate OTP, confirm OTP, and this OTP should be valid for 30 seconds. So this is my feature. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and create a feature branch. Okay, feature branch. So this is based out of the main branch. Okay, so now feature branch will be there, main branch will be there. Now all the developers who are working will work towards the feature branch. Okay, dev one will take XYZ branch, so he is working on something called generating, contacting some third party mobile providers and generating some API. So he is working for generating APIs or generating OTP. This guy is working on development or confirming the OTP, and this guy is working that OTP should be valid for 3 minutes. So there are three separate branch targeting to this feature branch, and three guys push it to this branch. Okay, so three guys. So this guy creates, so once he done the work, right, so someone should approve, he can't directly push it. So that approval process in terms of Azure is known as a pull request. Okay, so pull request consists of all of your changes what is there with respect to this branch. Okay, once it's targeted to this feature branch, right, now the guy comes here, and so this is the product owner or someone who has a good, it can be architect or product owner who has a good coding knowledge. He'll see whether it matches. He'll not see the requirement wise, he'll see the coding standards and so on. Okay, so requirement wise, it's a developer's responsibility in most of the cases to adhere to these requirements. Okay, feature, so consider generating the OTP. Okay, he has done XYZ coding in some language. Okay, good to go, he gives a good to go and approve this. So once this pull request is approved, right, so these changes, so master is one commit behind this changes. Okay, so now this guy is also code complete, this guy is raise a PR, two commits, this guy is three commits. So here it's three commits behind this, so main commit has nothing. So once the main guy comes who has the access, probably he's the admin of that or the owner of that repo, he comes and approves. Here again we create a PR consisting of all these changes targeting to this, and we approve this. So that time master is in sync with the feature. Okay, so this is something called a branch strategy. This is one of the branch strategy. Else what you can do is you can create so you have a main branch, you can create multiple short-lived branches from this. Okay, multiple short-lived branches and directly target it to main. So this is also one of the branching strategies. Now consider here, right, if you have a bug in between, so in that case what you do is you directly create a branch out of master and target it to master. So this is all about the branching strategies. Okay, so now to do all this you need some tools, right? So that's how release comes into picture. Deployment is, again I told you, all this, the code from the main needs to be into the website or the virtual machine or any of the website, right? So that's known as a deployment process. Okay, once deployment process, you need to, so this operate is a new term now. Okay, since Docker Kubernetes handle comes into picture, you need to orchestrate the things, you need to set up the things and so on. So just for the basic session, it's not much relevant though. Okay, so once you operate, right, so Docker Kubernetes and all comes into picture. Next, monitoring. So we all know that maintenance and monitoring also is one of the major tasks of our life cycle, right? So what they did is, instead of the steps by set, they created an infinity in agile. Okay, so this is the difference why DevOps came into picture, why agile is here, and why not the incremental approach. So the same thing, COVID application can be delivered in 3 months in the exact target. Okay, yes, impediments will be there, but again, you can challenge those impediments and take some extra time. In that case, you can at least have a valid proof. Okay, okay, now as I told, so you might be wondering over here, right? So he explained everything on DevOps. He told it's not a software and something. He told some things like it's a mindset, all big words he used. But why all the tools over here is telling? Anyone might be wondering over here. Okay, so um now what happened, these tools are nothing but to support the DevOps process, right? There might be some tools required. So these tools come handy when you want to support the DevOps process. Okay, so planning is basically, you create, as I told you, we need to deliver something in 2 weeks of these three APIs. Okay, that is the generating OTP. Okay, three APIs. So I need to plan it. Okay, once I plan it, I need to record it somewhere, right? So then that case, so I need to create some tickets or some saying, okay, I need to assign work, I need to create a feature, as I mentioned you. Okay, go ahead and do some, develop some APIs and so on. In that case, we need to, that's called a planning. Okay, once planning is done, that's, so most cases Jira ticket we call it. Okay, it can, okay, so it should be here, but a Google image can't help. So Jira or Confluence is okay used for planning. Now coding. So once you need to code, it's, see, locally you can code it. Okay, so but it needs to be stored somewhere, right? So what happens? Consider you have done too much of work today. You forgot, tomorrow your system gets corrupted. All this work is gone. Okay, so you need to store this work somewhere. So this code is, this storing is known as repository. Then that's when the god Git comes in picture. So Git is one of the repositories where you can store all your code. Is a source code. Okay, so now coding is done, we have planned this stuff. Next, we are building it. Building is basically automated process, as I mentioned here. So you need to convert from the high level to a low level. Okay, so in this case, what you do, you probably use some tools called SBT or Maven. Okay, so this is just example. There are many such tools in market. Not only stick to this, this is just an example. Okay, so once build is done, you will test it. So as I told, testing can be from either from a tester side, or a developers can test it. How? So either you can use the JUnit, XUnit, or um, Selenium, okay, to test it. Once testing is done, it goes to release. So putting into, so build and release pipeline. So that's when you build this and put it into respective repository. So this part here, part two comes after this much. Okay, part two is release. Okay, once release is done, you go ahead and deploy it. So deploy it, put to the respective environment. Okay, so consider, now let's come to Azure. So in Azure there is a concept of web app. Okay, so web app is nothing but a, it's a something where you can host your code, source code, you can host it. Okay, so that's when you need to deploy it. So Docker comes and you push it into Docker Hub. You can create a AWS same web app, or you push into a VM or a Azure web app. Okay, so we are all here for Azure, so let's just target, okay, we are pushing our code, to Azure web app. Okay, once you operate deploy, you need to operate it. Okay, here when operate probably comes like automated, so like consider this scenario, okay, where you don't have any resources. It should be an incremental approach of creating the resources. Every time you can't tell your infrastructure guy, okay, don't create a web app for me, create this for me, create that for me. You can't. So it should be kind of via scripts. He just facilitates it. Okay, so these scripts you can create it via Ansible. Azure provides something called ARM, okay, or Terraform, or something like that. Okay, again, Kubernetes comes into picture for orchestration. This is again the fancy term nowadays. When incremental approach came into picture, operate also came into picture. After this monitoring comes, you need to continuously monitor it. So in this case, you either use Nagios, Splunk, or Grafana, Prometheus, or anything such tools. Okay, so this is the tools supporting for DevOps. So people might be still wondering, do I have need to go, or do I need to learn so many tools, or I should go to each and every their websites and learn this? You can do that. What else? So docker.com, go to docker.com, create a repository, come back, create, go to Jenkins, create a agent, or create a agent and again create stuff and so on, right? Multiple, too much headache and too much hassle. What's the solution for that? The solution is Azure DevOps. Okay, so Azure DevOps is basically a collaboration tool. Okay, so here, right from the planning to the deployment, it, so here, right, it doesn't mean that you have to go specifically go and use the Azure resources. No, not that. You can go ahead and use any of these services mentioned here. So Azure has the extensions to most of these services. You just need to create a configuration in their respective services, and you just to link these things with the Azure DevOps. So that's when your collaborations comes into picture. That's when how easy it is. Okay, so you can use multiple tools. So if you want to use Jenkins, you can do it, but Azure has its own in-house like pipelines. You can just build it via that pipeline. Also, you can deploy it again via any of the tools there, Octopus or anything. Again, Azure has it in-house tool. It has the collaborations, or it has the extensions with the Docker. It has the extension with all the monitoring tools, at least most of the ones which are famous. Again, you can use the GitHub also, but again, Azure DevOps has its own repository. It's again, so Microsoft occupied Git, so it is underlying on the Git itself. So Azure repos you might have heard, right? So Azure repos also you can store your source code. Not only that, when we term of planning, right, Azure has its own board and all. So anyone can go and create what you need to achieve, whom you need to assign the task, and so on. You can do that, and all those things. Okay, you can create the velocity board, how much the sprint is progressing, what is the progress in the sprint, so what not is there in Azure DevOps. Everything is there, most of the things. So that's when people like and people started using Azure DevOps. Okay, so some of the terminologies what we are going to see over here. Okay, so first, as I told you, build. So build is nothing but when the stage where the application is compiled, high level language to a lower level language. Testing stage, where the testing code is tested. So here you can do it automation, you can do it manually. So but automation can save some time, so that when you go ahead and use JUnit or Selenium. Release. Okay, as I mentioned, the stage where your code or the code is put into the main repository. Okay, deploy. So deploy is basically, this is the stage where the code is put into the production. Okay, or any of the environment. Okay, so it can be the QA environment, it can be the production environment, and so on. Okay, next thing is continuous integration. So continuous integration is kind of the process where you push the code automatically. The code should uh, test the test the automated test cases in it, build it, and release something called artifacts. So artifacts is again one of the terminology which is not mentioned here. It is something, it's known as kind of a output. What output? Once I compile my code, something needs to be there, right? Something, okay, saying that okay, my code has been successfully compiled. This output is known as the artifact. Okay, so next comes continuous delivery. So what is continuous delivery? Continuous delivery is nothing but, okay, from the build pipeline, take the artifacts, put it into the release pipeline. Okay, so there are two things now. So build pipeline and release pipeline. Build pipeline here, okay, before that, continuous delivery is like automatically putting it into the all the environments, respective environments, and the respective repo. Okay, so now two fancy terminologies in DevOps. Okay, so one is build pipeline and one is release pipeline. Okay, so pipeline is literally like this. Okay, let's imagine it like this. So here, this is release pipeline and this is um build. This is build pipeline and this is release pipeline. Build pipeline has certain set of tasks. Okay, so you tell task one is do this, validate this, run this test cases, so on. Okay, so now once build pipeline validates all this, it generates artifacts. So artifacts is kind of output. Okay, these artifacts is put into the release pipelines. So kind of this is kind of QA environment, this is kind of production environment. So the way to link between the build and release pipeline, whole thing is known as CI/CD, that is continuous integration and continuous delivery or continuous deployment. Okay, to link a CI and CD, we need something called artifacts. Okay, so this is the overall concept of terminologies in the DevOps. Okay, so now let's get started. How we are going to get started? So Azure DevOps. Okay, so let's just go to Azure DevOps now. Yep. So this is the DevOps board, how it looks. But previous to that, I'll just show you how to get started. So I'll just sign out of this. So this is the site if you want to access the Azure DevOps services. Okay. So here, if you see, there are two things. Either you can start free. Okay. How you can start free and what you need for that? It's probably any Microsoft supported account, like on Microsoft.com, any such account you can get started. Or if you have some GitHub account, that would be really great. And it's free. Okay. To get started, it's free. Okay. It's free. Then how do Azure make cost? That's the question now. So if you see the pricing right here, so they charge price according to the hosted agent. So you need to run a pipeline, right? So basically, what is it? So build is also happening in some computer. So that computer is known as a hosted agent. Okay, this hosted agent can be either provided by the Microsoft, or you can create your own VM and create an agent out of it. Okay, so now in this free session, you can get one free Microsoft hosted CI/CD and one self-hosted CI/CD. So basically, you can you call BYOB, right? Bring your own things. So you can bring your own system over here, host it. Else you can just use the Microsoft provided one. Okay, and if you see 2 GB of artifacts, as I told you, these things, the output from the build pipeline are stored somewhere, right? So this is known as artifacts. So Azure artifacts. So they give you up to 2 GB free. After that, they charge you up to $2 for per GB. Okay, is it free? Yes. But they do charge in this also, that is the parallel job. So that basically you can run multiple build pipelines at a single go, that is known as parallel job. For that case, they charge it. Okay, so this is for the licenses. Okay, so just if you have some time, just go to these things and you can have a look at it. Okay, so yep, so let's get started for now. So we'll just go to services here, and I'll just sign into Azure DevOps. Okay, sign in with GitHub. Okay, so see here. So first, when you create when you get, right, you will not get anything. So first thing you need to do is um, uh, create a work item. So for, sorry, not create a work item, create an organization. So a company, what you're doing. So first thing what I'll do, I'll just create a work item. Okay, here continue. It's so simple. See here. So I'll just go ahead and do it, probably demo day 2202. Okay, so this is my COVID app, so I'll just name it as COVID vaccination. Okay, vaccination 2202. So where the project should be hosted. Okay, so after this, let's do this. If so, in the meanwhile, so this process do take some of the time. In the meanwhile, you can just post your questions so that I can answer it side by side until it's building. Okay. So we have created a project here. So public, if you see, it's not public repo. So if you want to do it public repo, you need to go ahead and pay for it. But for now, we'll just create a private repo. Okay. Cowin v2 or vx, and I'll just go to create a project. See, it's so simple here. So here you can add your dashboard based on your velocities and based on your progress and all those things. So that's into the overview tab. Else you can just go to wiki and you can add your project details and project readme document. Basically you can do that. So board section is kind of a ticketing tool. Okay, so here you what you can do is you can just create a epic, you can create a issue, or you can create a task. So this is kind of follows one of the projects, that is scrum process or a agile process or anything like that. Okay, so this is one of the things. Okay, so I'll just this is targeting to some other process, but we will be using the agile process in most of the Azure DevOps cases. Okay, so how does it look? So I'll just go to my existing one. I'll just go to this and I'll just here boards. And if you see, I have so many things here. As I told you, Epic. Epic is a top level user product. Okay, consider Coin application. Phase one V1 should be delivered by this stage. So that's the Epic. Feature is kind of minimal working product. MVP. Okay, so here I'll tell that okay, one feature is OTP. Second feature is get the list from all the vaccination centers. Third feature is the booking slots. So it's divided into three features. Now once the epic is created, once the feature is created, next thing comes is user story. So user story is, as a user, if I come and if I want to do certain things, how it would be. So consider in terms of generate OTP feature. One feature is that okay, contact some third party provider and get the OTPs. So I'll contact some xyz 100 ways to sms.com and tell them okay, I'll send my APIs, I'll send the number, you need to send the OTP to that API. So this is one of the user stories. Okay, so it can be many user stories. Next, after this comes the task. So task is a smaller part. So what in this, to achieve this user story, what you're going to do? So first I'll create a backend framework, I'll create a contract and so on. Okay, next I'll write the test cases. These are small tasks. So all these tasks collaborated form a user story. Multiple user stories collaborated for a single purpose collaborated terms feature, and multiple features go ahead and do a epic. Okay, next bug is basically some testing goes on. So either the product owner or testers get back to us saying that there is a bug, saying that okay, this thing is not working as expected, please do it so and so. Okay, so these are some of the terminologies in terms of boards. So this is how the collaboration comes into, and planning comes into feature picture. So I'll just create a epic saying that okay, my Cowin application should be ready. Okay, Cowin application. I think sorry, there was a glitch in network. Let me just just give me a moment. I'll just shift to the network. Okay. Okay. So uh, I hope it's back. Okay. So now the new epic is ready. I'll save it. So currently I am only the user of this organization. So I'll just go ahead and search my name. And it can, so in this organization you can use the Azure Active Directory and add multiple people of the things. Okay, so that is also possible. Okay, so I'll just save it. Now saving, I'll create a features under it, I can create a user story under it. So just in short of time, we are just what we'll do is we can go ahead and create a repo. Okay, so we can just go ahead and, so if I'll just go back, so this where is this vaccination 2022, what I'll do is I'll just create a repo for this. Okay, I don't have any repo, so what I'll do is I will I will just clone one something into my system. So here what I'll do, um, Okay, so I'm using Visual Studio. Okay, so any of such tools can be used because I'm more familiar working with Visual Studio, so that's how I'm doing this. um Not necessarily that you have to go with this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and create a new project. Okay, so let it be a web app for now. Okay, so consider, before this, what I'll do is I'll just do this. I'll just go ahead and here, right, I'll go ahead and do a clone. Okay, so I'll just clone my I'll just, it's a way of connecting. Okay, so first I'll clone it locally. Okay, git clone again. As I told you, git, the repository in Azure is underlying on the git, so you can directly use it. Okay, it just, I need to verify who I am, so I'll just use other account. Okay, I appeared to clone an empty. Makes sense. So now here what I'll do is I'll create a project pointing to here. Okay. Okay, I'm just new vaccination, something like this. Okay. So next, okay, so this is just a basic application. Okay, nothing fancy around it. So of whatever template is available, I just created this application. So Visual Studio .NET do provide these kind of features. So it just, so when I just run this, right, I'll get a welcome page. That's it. Okay, so no fancy thing around here. It just to show the implementation of our things. Okay, so see here, it's a local host, so something running in my local system. Okay, so now it's a we'll get a welcome page over here. Yeah, welcome page. Okay, so now what I'll do is I need to push this into the repo. I need to create a repo out of it. Okay, so there are so many changes. I'll just do these things for now. Okay, and I'll just commit all. I'll just undo all. Let me, okay, commit all. So you see here one outgoing commit. Now if I just it's being pushed. Okay, so if you see the things is being pushed to master branch, so actually you should go ahead and start using the branching strategy, but here we are just explaining the concept, so that's why the direct target is branching, master branch. Okay, so now if I just go ahead and see my repo in this, so new vaccination, the thing is ready over here. Okay, so how to set up a build? Now vaccination is done, so next what? We need to build the things, right? So in that case, what you need to do is we need to go ahead and set up build pipeline. So you see how simple it is. uh, Go to the repo, upload your repo, then set up a build pipeline. So based on your pipeline, it gives you a suggestions, right? What kind of thing is your application? So in my case, it's ASP.NET Core, but it can be a Windows, okay, or it can be some of the Android application, or some of the Kubernetes deployment file, or HTML also, or maybe, see, as I told you, Maven is one of the build tasks. You can use that also to use the Java file, okay, PHP and everything. So it's not specific to .NET or anything, okay, it is specific to everything. Okay, so I am just concentrating more on this. Okay, so now here it tells, it just generated some format for me. So let's understand what is this format doing. Okay, so first it's telling trigger to master. So when this pipeline should trigger, whenever there is a change, push to a master branch, trigger this. But ideal case, again, not exactly master. So how it should be, whenever I create a feature branch, whenever I create a local branch, it should build something for me and give me the output. Okay, so that should be the actual vision, okay, of a DevOps. As I told you, it's not a technology or a tool, it's a mindset. So that should be a vision, that okay, it, you should automate it such that okay, I'll create a branch should again create a kind of production like environment for me that is only for valid for 1 hour. So that should be a vision for you guys. But here, out of the interest, just to save some time, we are just targeting things to master pool. So if you see here VM image, it's a Windows latest. So what Azure does it, it's give, it's one of the computer saying that okay boss, you run things in my computer, I'll give you the artifact. You do not get to you know, you need not go ahead and create a agent or create things for me. You can use directly my services. Okay, fine. Variables, so variables are what are required over here. So the solution, take the .sln file. So build platform is any CPU. Okay, and build configuration is release. Okay, so build, so basically there are two things here, debug mode and release mode. So we are telling build configuration is release mode. Steps, so this is something like you need to restore, these are multiple tasks. Okay, so one of the tasks is restore the new gets, or probably third party services you need to restore, you can add it as a task. Okay, so you can just see your assistant and see what kind of task you can directly deploy things to the web app also. Here if you see, there are multiple things what you can do here. You need to just know what you're doing and how you're going to achieve it. Okay, that should be the major target. Okay, next task is okay, we are building it. After building, what we are going to do, we are going to build the solution. So for solution building, what we need, we some arguments. That arguments will be some packages and so on. So these will be the arguments to build this solution. So where are doing in the release mode, build platform, that is any CPU. So any CPU, like not to particular CPU of this particular course or any, it should be able to do it for any CPUs. Okay, next configuration. So configuration is release mode. Okay, so it should build in release mode. If you have some testing, do a automated test, but we are not bothered about this. Okay, so we need to add one more thing. Okay, so that is publish artifact. So here we are telling that this is my custom artifact. Let's see whether we'll get it here. So publish and build artifacts, or you can directly do this. Okay, on a Windows, publish pipeline artifact, publish test results. There are many things, so we will just using publish build artifacts. Okay, and I'm going to save and run it. Okay, so it's being queued. If I go here, it gives me an error. Why is this error? Because as I mentioned that if self-hosted agent, that is your own agent, you will not get any error, fine, works fine. But here you are using Microsoft. So Microsoft started to give its VM. Okay, and people started really misusing it. To avoid this, what they did is, okay, you do it for free, we'll give you no matter, but just fill a form saying that you are doing it, and you just give a repository name or an organization name so that we can enable it. So you just need to fill out this form. Okay, so it takes 1 day to approve it. So what I did is, I already had my repo ready, so we'll just go ahead and do the things over there. So if you just see here, right, this file not this dev starters, I already have a pipeline in place, same thing. Okay, I'll just edit it. Okay, and before this is the build pipeline. After this, just go to release pipeline and see I have some of the release pipeline ready, but I'll just not use it for now. I'll just delete this. Okay. Okay, so pipelines, what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and, so this is my kind of dev starter. So what I'll do, I'll just clone this. Okay, I think I already have this. Okay, so what I'll do, I can do is I can just go ahead and test repo dev starter. So this is already a file is there over here. Okay, it's targeting to master. So here, right, I'll just do some changes. So my target here would be automatically build something and put it into a host it. Okay, I'm not going to do anything manually. So the target is I am doing some changes locally. This change should be taken and put it into website. Okay, and the website is this. So if I just go to my incognito. Okay. In the meanwhile, I just saw some of the comments saying that we just going to the Active Directory and stuff. So you just need to have link it with the Azure. Okay. So main thing what you need is you just need to go and link with Azure. So there we need to link saying you need to add some set of users, and that particular thing you need to link it to the DevOps. How you do it is basically if you just go here and you can probably go to add project settings, and in project settings you can see here, well, teams, you can add people over here. Okay, so members one, you can add as many members around you want. So new team, and you can just, because since this is my local and I'm just specific to one user, so that's why only I'm not able to add many of the things over here. And one more thing, what one more important concept is service hooks. So service hooks is basically you are linking your Azure DevOps to the portal, right? You need to have some authentication, sorry, that's not service hooks. Okay, so service connection, so you need to have some link. Okay, some link between the Azure DevOps and the portal. So that's when you come create a Azure service connection. So what you need to do is in portal you just need to go and create a service principal. That's an Active Directory concept. So it's saying that okay, you are a user and you are going to use this application, and you need to link it over here. Okay, so that's a concept of service connection. Okay, so I'll just go here and do this. Okay, and one more thing is my first DevOps experience. I same thing. I didn't know what is what. I was just like focusing on okay. I'm committing the code. It's going and deployed into application. I didn't know what's happening in and out. So eventually, when I started to explore the release pipeline, what is happening in build pipeline, I started to dig deep into more. And I'm still learning things. There are many more things to learn, like orchestration and in terms of DevOps over here. So I'm just learning things over here also. Okay, so yeah, so Hitul just mentioned that how can we become a DevOps engineer and what are the skills required. So as I told Hitul, so DevOps engineer is not something that you know a tool and you become a DevOps engineer. So some of the tools, like you can know Azure DevOps, Azure applications and so on. Okay, but that doesn't make you a DevOps engineer. To DevOps is basically a process and ideologist. You need to know these processes first to tell yourself that okay, you are a DevOps engineer, because tools can be learned overnight. To be frank, these processes, how you applies, based on these processes you become a DevOps engineer. Okay, so here if you see my app, this is already one app I created. So here it's like DevCoin backend prod ready. Okay, so let's just make some of the changes to this. Okay, so not this. Oh, where is the thing? Okay, so just to save some time, I will just clone this repository into a new pack and just get started. Okay, so dev starter should have been here. This is the one. Okay, so it's something like welcome to DevOps session. It's there, so I'm doubtful that it's the same repository. So let's stick to the old basic approach of cloning this. Okay, git bash. Okay, so your main focus will be deployment. See, deployment is one of the process. Deployment, yes, it's the ultimately the end target will be to deploy it to production and everything should be work smoothly. But that is not only the focus. Yes, the focus is on deployment, but that not only the focus. So there are other target areas where you need to monitor, you need to scale up and down. These things also comes. Okay, so these things also we need to take care when we are deploying. But yes, deployment is one of the focus, but not completely the main focus. Okay, build to deploy, we need a build. Okay, so these both should go in hand. So that's why build and deploy, CI and CD. Okay, so dev test is there. What I'll do is, let's be bit quick. Okay, and I'll just change it to some of the things. Okay, co-in backend prod ready. Let's make it co-in backend. Today is the 2022. Okay, so this should be deployed to the application. Okay, I'll not test it here. I'll just push it, push direct. Okay, so commit all. Okay, commit created locally. Great. Push. Pushing is started. Great. So I already had a pipeline over here. So let's see commits. If things are pushed direct is done. So if you see a pipeline, the pipeline is running. So it's two pipeline because yesterday I created some of the extra repos. So I'll just I can't cancel it. So what I'll do is here I'll just cancel this. Okay. So because it takes multiple uh, jobs, so we have only one free job as given by DevOps, so we'll just focus on one job. Okay, so if we just go to pipeline and dev starter, so it's just stage now. So let's see, let's wait for some time. So it's queued. Okay, here it does take time. Why? Because this single machine is there, right? It might be used by many people. It's kind of a shared resource. It's not a dedicated resource. So if it's slow, don't get angry on Azure or me. Okay, so it's a shared resource, so it might take some time really. Okay, but see here, it's really quick. So here we are telling, okay, these are the tasks what we define in the pipeline. Automatically we didn't do anything, so we just define some set of tasks, right? We just built, so now it's building the application. Once it builds, if any errors, it will fail directly over here. Okay, so next, test. So once any test cases are there, any automatic test cases are, it will already know, okay, this kind test cases, it will run its command. Okay, so publish and build artifact. So I'm telling that, okay, whatever are the things, publish it. So see here, once it's done, one artifact is produced. If I go here, if you see here, these are the artifacts. Okay, these you can read it. Okay, so it's a zip file and so on. Okay, so now build pipeline is ready. what next? So now it's the time for release pipeline. Okay, so new release pipeline, I'm just going to do it here. Okay, so I'm just going to add some tasks. So stage 1, let me name it as a app service deployment. I'm deploying it to app service. Let me name this as a QA stage. Okay, done. QA stage is done. What this in this what I'm doing, I need to link it to the subscription first. Okay, so as I told you, service connection, I created a service connection previously. I went created a service principal that saying that in the Azure AD, saying that okay, I'm going to use this application somewhere else. That is known as service principal. So this service principal, I have linked it into the DevOps, so that it's kind of a handshake saying that okay, Azure DevOps can interact with the Azure portal. Okay, so web app and Windows. So now what I'll do, I need to deploy it to this web app, right? So here I'll just give this name. See, it's really simple, right? So things are mostly provided by Azure. You just need to know how to apply all these things together. Okay, so okay, so the build is ready here. If I see the pipeline, build is ready. Okay, the release stage is ready, but it needs to some build pipeline. As I told you, to the release pipeline there should be some link, no, some artifacts. So that's known as artifact. So we need to provide the artifact. So here what you do is you just yes, Azure does automate something. You just need to know what you need to go ahead and choose. Basically Azure just provides that feature. Okay, so it just gives you to automate most of the things. So dev starter 1. Okay, so here I am telling that okay, this is it. No, here what I'm telling here, I'm just having one function saying that okay, whenever there is a artifacts available, just enable this. Okay, okay, so build pipeline, what kind of test is run is, so there are some kind of like XUnit tests, or if you are using some React application, there might be some jest or something, those kind of tests. So those kind of tests can be run automatically. Also you can make use of the what is that, Selenium for UI testing. So if you have automated this, these kind of tests also can be run in the pipeline. Okay, so here I have enabled saying that every release, when every new build is available, so it needs to be a continuous process, as I mentioned, right? You should not go and create a release every time. So every time I push something to the code or master, for now it should go pick up the things and deploy it into the QA stage. Okay, so that will be our target. Now I'll save it. Okay, so now I have, okay, I'll just create a release for now. Okay, so if I just go here, QA is queued. Okay, as I told you, running on agent, so it should run on something, right? So it's a manual process, but someone is doing it for you. You are not doing anything. So if you see, we are going and publishing, so system is doing for you, you are not doing anything. Okay, so this is known as the automatic process. Then that automatic process is done by some system, so that is known as the agent. So that's why the parallelism concept, and we need to go and get some agent, is done. Okay, so now it's deployed into the production, sorry, QA environment. So these are known as tasks. Okay, so these are multiple tasks over here. So total changes 46. In the meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make it prod ready. Okay, I'll tell you why. And I'll not push it until this is ready. This is ready now. Okay, so backend 22 done. So after this, the last step would be, I need to, this is a QA environment, QA testers, and now it needs to automatically deploy to the production environment, right? So what I'll do is, I have already my prod dev kickstart, if you see here, and it's prod ready. Okay, so I need to get this over here. So, okay, so that should again be automated process. So what I'll do, I'll just slightly edit this release pipeline such that it will directly deploy from this stage to a prod stage. Okay, so add, again it's the app service. You can have any of the task, okay, whatever you want. Prod deployment. and we'll just cancel it here. One job. Okay, so here link to DevOps, and this will be the prod dev kickstart. Okay, so I directly can't deploy anything to production, right? It needs to approval by or sign off by someone. So what I'll do is, here if you see here, pre-deployment conditions, I'll add conditions saying that okay, only a particular person, or can consider test lead or test manager, after getting a sign off from the team, can approve this. Okay, so this is a manual process. Else you can also set some gates saying that there are no active bugs associated with this work item. If there are active bugs, don't deploy, else deploy. So these things also you can add it, but for now we'll stick to pre-deployment approvals. Okay, so pre-deployment approvals whom from me currently, because only I am the member of this admin. Okay, so pre-deployment approval is me. Okay, so I have made this prod ready. Okay, prod student 22 prod demo. Okay, and changes, it's pushed. Now let's see how it goes and takes automatically. Okay, so if one thing is being pushed, okay, it's being pushed. Let's follow up here. First, let's go to the pipelines. If you see, two are running, so this I'm not really bothered, because in the same repo I had created two pipelines earlier, so that's why you can't delete it, because there are some artifacts or retained releases over here, so you can't delete this pipeline up to certain days. So that's why I'm just canceling this build and I'm just focusing on this build. Okay, so just let's wait for some time. Okay, starting job, great. Okay, guys, we are at almost the end of the session, so shoot your questions if anything is there, so I can help you out. Okay, I think Avinash, I think I already answered this question some time back. In any test, any automated test you can run in the pipeline. So it might be, suppose in .NET you are using the X unit or N unit tests. You have some automated test over here. You can run those. Else, you can, what you can do is you can just go ahead and just some React, if your application is there, you are using some build, you can use just or enzyme test. Else, if you are using some Selenium for UI testing, you can just write a automatic test cases and you can run that too. You just need to specify where you are writing the test, and automatically it picks up and writes the test for you. Okay, so I hope I answer your question. So any questions left out, please pin it. So here if you see, QA stage, it's deploying to app service. So this is our QA stage. Yeah, so QA is done. I'll just refresh it. Yeah, prod demo, but this is still having the older one, correct? If I just go to my pipelines or releases, it's showing that okay, QA stage is successful. Prod requires a approval by me, because since I am accessing this, if I just go here, I'm acting as a QA lead now. I'll just go here and tell okay, all verified, and tested, and I'll approve, or else I can defer it for later deployment if I find any bugs over here. Okay, I can do that too. I can reassign to, and this approval is pending for 30 days. So you can set change this. So, but by 30 days you need to approve it. Okay, so I'll just approve it. Once approved, if you see here, I'll just refresh it. So prod stage is queued. So this is kind of a automated process I are talking about. So this is very simple on a ground level what I am explaining, but trust me, you can do a lot more with Azure DevOps. Not only Azure DevOps is one of the medium. So AWS also provides alternative. Jenkins also you can use, but why Azure DevOps? You collaborate everything at one single roof. Okay, everything you can get in one supermarket while you go to multiple stores, right? You need to buy the same thing, but in one supermarket you can get everything. So that's why Azure DevOps you are using. Okay, so if you see here, now we are deploying this to app service. Okay, done. So prod approval is done and so on. So if I refresh this now, see, our application is deployed to production. So this is the automated process with less number of bugs, with less number of time, and so on. Okay. Okay, so Avinash has asked one question. Suppose I have multiple applications in a single project. How do I deploy them to a different web apps? Okay, so in this case, right, what happens? So consider you have multiple applications in a single project. So different web app, what you can do is you can just target it from a different web app application. So when Microsoft like microservices approach comes into picture, what you can do is you can have multiple repos for that ideally. So you can create some multiple repos and you can create some different web apps over there. So project will be single, but you can have n number of repos associated with that particular project, and that particular repos will have its own pipeline and it will deploy to its respective web app. And later at one application you can create where you can link all these small applications together to form a single application. So I hope I answered your question, Avinash. um Yes, so we have done with the demo time. We have taken a really long time. So happy learning. Thank you. Please shoot out your questions if anything is there. Else we are good
Yeah.
going for the day.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was a very insightful and knowledgeable session, sir, from you.
Thank you.
And we have learned a lot from today's session. And I personally admired your brilliance in the field of DevOps. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
So
guys, do check out the other videos in the Azure developer community in the YouTube channel and do subscribe. Yeah. Until then, stay tuned with the Azure developer community. Thank you, sir.